right? You have a lot of turnover, possibly. Kelsey may be finished.
Where I'm looking up average life expectancy. I'm dreaming at this point. Like, I can't. I'm done with the season.
What's the next evolution of Pat Mahomes? And it's weird to be talking about a guy like, what's the next evolution of Pat Mahomes, and he's not 30. You could be anywhere doing anything, but you're hanging out with us, and we appreciate that. So wherever you're listening and however you're listening, we appreciate you guys for listening. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting episode of the Game Plan Podcast. Alex Goodwin is my name. You can follow me on Twitter at Alex Goodwin TSM. Again, that's on the artist formerly known as Twitter at Alex Goodwin TSM. That's T as in tacos, S as in sangria, M as in margaritas. Kennedy Miller.
What's going on, fellas? How y'all doing?
Man, doing pretty good. Ken, where can the folks find you on Twitter, my guy?
Find me on Twitter at _Kennedy Miller _. Again, that's _Kennedy Miller _.
All right. And joining us once again, the man, the myth, the legend, Central Louisiana's own towntalk.com, LaMar Gafford. What's up, big dog?
Good, man. How about yourself?
You know, man, I really can't call it, Lamar. Where can the folks find you on Twitter?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at LaMar Gafford, all in one word. Once again, that is at LaMar Gafford.
All right. And I should have said, when I said S as in sangria, I should have said S as in season, because Kennedy Miller, LaMar Gafford, those folks out there who've been rocking with the Game Plan Podcast, this is season number 8. All right. And so here at the Game Plan Podcast, year in, year out, as we start off a new season, we're always trying to step some things up. So a few years ago, we gave y'all new logos, new theme songs, right? This time, we're making an even bigger change. So now we have heard the complaints, we have heard people asking, we have heard the request, and we answered. So from here on out, you guys will be able to not only listen to the Game Plan Podcast wherever you get your podcasts for free, you'll also be able to watch us on YouTube on our official Game Plan Podcast YouTube channel. So again, if you're rocking with us on Spotify, Apple Music, iHeart, wherever you get your podcast for free, you can still stay with us over there. But also, if you're more of a visual person, you want to see the cool t-shirts I have on, or whatever the case happens to be, or if you like my Marvin Gaye painting, right? You can rock with us here on the Game Plan Podcast official YouTube channel. All right, now that we got all of that business out of the way, fellas, I said T as in tacos. Because this is our college football preview show, Kennedy Miller, I should have said T as in Texas, as in the Texas Longhorns, who are the number 1 preseason team in the country. So, Mr. Miller, with Texas ranked number 1 in the preseason AP poll, with Arch Manning going to be the starting quarterback, do you think this year's championship or bust for the guys on the 40 acres?
I do. I think they have a really good test week 1 going to Columbus. They've got what a lot of people consider to be not just a top quarterback, but a top 10, top 5 player in the country, and Arch Manning. Also, what's the linebacker's name? Say it again.
Anthony Hill.
I didn't want to butcher that. Anthony Hill. 2 top 10 players in the country, what some consider. So they have pieces, right? They lost some of their pieces on the offensive line. They're a little bit younger on the O-line. But I do think they have a great opportunity this year to go out and win it. And again, the beauty of this new college football era is you can lose a game or two. Like, you don't have to run the table, or you don't have to just go 1 loss. You can lose a game or two and still get into the college football playoff and still, in a way, determine your own fate. And so we'll go to game predictions later, because I know we're going to talk about that Texas-Ohio State game. But I think they have a great chance. I think they're well coached. I saw a ranking of the college football coaches, and like Steve Sarkisian was like 29, 30. I thought it was absolutely ludicrous. Some of the people that were ahead of him, I think he's a much better coach than that. But I definitely think they've got the pieces, and the culture has been built now in Texas, right? Like, Sark came, 4 years ago, and we've just kind of seen this thing steadily improving. And Alex, I mean, you know better than most how many years we've tried to say that Texas was back, or that, We're finally on the up and up. And I think now it's starting to show because, frankly, last year, if we want to be honest, the Texas Ohio State game was a national championship, in my opinion. Notre Dame just played an extra game. So,
You like they wanted to exercise.
right, they just wanted to exercise. I think they have as good of an opportunity as anybody in the country this year to compete for a national championship.
LaMar?
Yeah, I definitely have to agree. I feel like Texas, I know ever since we started doing these things here, I know you guys were kind of worried a little bit about, oh man, is Texas going to be okay? Is Texas going to be okay? But what Sark has done, he's built this team, built this program back to where it should be amongst the elite that it can compete for national championships. And like you said, last year they were really, really close in doing that. And this year, I have a feeling that they're going to be at that same spot, if not even further along there. This game against Ohio State will tell us a lot about who's probably going to be the top team going forward in this thing. But, Texas has the coaching with Sark. They have the quarterback with Arch, and they have a good bit of skill players and defense that can roll around and play around here, and possibly trying to win the SEC. Crazy part is, Texas came in first year in the SEC, almost won that thing. And so now, what are they going to do for an encore? Can they go through the gauntlet? Can they possibly get there to that point? As what Kennedy said, they don't have to worry about going perfect this season, but if they can at least finish up the season one no losses, one loss, maybe even on the outset, probably even 2 losses, they're definitely going to have a good chance there. But I just think that they're so talented enough that I can't see them losing more than one game this season.
So, LaMar, what do you? I know that we were going to talk about. How do you feel about North Carolina? Like, how do you feel their outlook for this upcoming season is? Bill Belichick, first year coaching college football, one of the oldest coaches in college football, right? Used the transfer portal a lot, kind of a la Colorado last year. How do you feel the outlook of North Carolina will be going into this season?
It's going to be interesting to see here because we haven't seen Bill Belichick being in the college situation for a long time, if at all ever. So how does he adapt to this? It's going to be one thing. Obviously, again, you look at some coaches here who have also done very good stints in the NFL and they've made it work. Like, for example, you see Bill Walsh, he's done it before. He was able to make it work in that situation there. You see other guys like, I know Lou Holtz wasn't great in the NFL, but he's a damn good college football coach and everything else like that. But then you also see on the other end, the Herm Edwards, and where it might have did okay a little bit there at Arizona State for a little bit, but then it kind of went out in flames and smoke. I'm interested in seeing what happens there because, does he have the patience enough to kind of deal with these kids that are 21, that are 18 to 21 years old, and all that stuff? Like, this ain't Tom Brady. This ain't do your job type deal here and expecting, you can't give, you have to have a little bit more patience with this. So I'm really interested in seeing what they do for North Carolina. I just don't think that this is going to get them, in the upper echelon of that conference, though. I feel like that they're at best 8-win, 9-win team of at all anything, and they should be just happy about that.
I say this about
What
Bill
about you,
Belichick
Alex?
and it. Man, my thing with Bill is this, right? I don't think North Carolina should have hired him. And it's for a couple of reasons. Like, my first thing is when the whole thing with Bill Belichick, in the most important thing you need for a college football coach to be successful, you need to be able to identify talent, recruit talent, and develop said talent. During those last couple of years of Bill Belichick's tenure in New England, he did not identify talent very well. There were reasons why New England was spending all this money in free agency is because they weren't drafting particularly well, right? That's one. My second thing is the last time we saw Bill Belichick coach, he wasn't particularly good at this job anymore, right? And again, that's partly his own fault because that roster that he put together stunk, right? So that was partly on him as well. And I think my third thing is, what are the real expectations for somebody like Bill, right? What are the real expectations for him? And if this doesn't go well, like what qualifies as this is a smashing success, right? Do you expect Bill Belichick to come in and go 9-3, 10-2, compete for the playoff? Like, if that's what they expect, that won't happen. Now their schedule is like Cupcake City, right? But what happens if Bill goes 7-5, 8-4, right? You don't hire Bill Belichick to go 7-5, 8-4. You simply don't. And you surely don't want that to be the result, especially after the spring and the fall that they had last year, with Belichick and his lady being the talk of the program. Like, the biggest story surrounding that program was Belichick's 24-year-old girlfriend, right? That was the biggest story there, right? Now, people get into right, wrong, or otherwise. If we're just flatly stating what it is, that was the biggest thing there, right? And I also think what's gone undercovered, I'm not sure how much you guys heard about this. The athletic department, when they hired Bill Belichick, he was not their choice. So basically, for those of you guys who didn't hear or read the story, the athletic department and the board of regents, the presidents, the folks on the academic administration side of things, it seems like at UNC they ran two separate searches, right? And Belichick ends up being a popular name for those folks who are on the academic affairs, the board of regents, the board of trustees side of people. And those are the people that were talking to Belichick's people. Those are the people that offered Belichick the job and started negotiating with Bill Belichick on a contract and all those parameters without the knowledge or consent of the folks from the athletic department. Now, the athletic department had to kind of, dress it up and make it look good, right? But he was not the first choice. So let's say this doesn't go well. What do you do from there?
So
Right. That's a good question. Because, the last two guys that you hired, 7 years old. I mean, you did the same thing with Mac Brown. You thought that he was going to bring the old thing back and try to get them back to prominence. And it worked for a few years, but then it kind of went back down. And now you're trying to do the same thing with Bill Belichick. I mean, where do you go? Like you said, that's the thing there. And if this doesn't work, I mean, and you got to look at it like this. Like, I'm pretty sure that a lot of people in North Carolina, obviously basketball is the main draw, but they want that football team to be pretty good too. That's the thing about that. And so, it's kind of the 1-2 part. And that's the thing. Like, if this doesn't work, are they going to go to a younger coach? Like you said, it's a possibility that Steve Belichick probably wants that job. That's a coach in waiting. But is he good at this? Is he going to be interested in becoming, is he a good head coach? That's the thing there, because I want to say nipple baby here, but this does kind of sound like that.
So looking at the North Carolina schedule, they start off with TCU, Charlotte, Richmond, and they play TCU at home. Charlotte, Richmond, UCF, which I believe they play on the road. Yeah, they play UCF on the road.
Okay.
Clemson, Cal, Virginia, Syracuse, Stanford, Wake Forest, Duke, NC State. So, like, I saw their spread at being like 7 wins, and I think they're going to exceed that, right? Alex kind of alluded to it. Like, the only definite loss here is Clemson. Now, NC State will be a good game. I think Syracuse will be a good game. But most of these games, if I don't see like, oh, it can go back and forth, I see UNC winning the game. So if they do finish with 8, 9 wins, 10 wins, I think that's considered a success, because all the talk that was around Colorado last year of like, you can't build through the transfer portal, and there's no way you're going to have any team cohesion. Like, if this dude comes in and wins that, even whatever was on the schedule, that is it's an improvement. Like, that's something to hang your hat on. And I mean, the reality is, even though he's not, personable and probably doesn't have, well, not probably, he doesn't have as much charisma as like a Deion Sanders. People are going to want to play for him because he's won Super Bowls. He's coached what many people and what their parents have seen as one of the greatest quarterbacks, if not the greatest quarterback of all time, and Tom Brady. So like they're gonna want to be around that knowledge, right? And if he starts this year off with a bang, then it just further helps their transition into this Bill Belichick era, like you said, Lamar. If he's trying to do it for his son, the Steve Belichick era. So I want to talk about, who do you think are some of the coaches that are on the hot seat for college football? Who are some of the coaches that you believe are on the hot seat this year for this upcoming college football season?
And that's a very, very good question, Ken. And I think when you take a look at it here, I think Billy Napier has done enough to kind of get him a little bit off of it a little bit, but I still think he's there. But, I look at guys and, man, I wish Alex was here just to kind of, so we can rib him a little bit here. But his boy Hugh Freeze. His boy Hugh Freeze.
His
boy Hugh Freeze. Man, he's on the hot seat at this point, man. Because I just think that Auburn, you got Hugh Freeze because you thought you were going to be much better than where you were. And last year in the new SEC, they really weren't competitive. So, Hugh definitely has to be in the hot seat right then and there. Crazy as we talk about Hugh Freeze, Alex has just got back on.
See, you said it's so you talk about Hugh Freeze. Oh, look, as long as he's not calling him on the work phone, I think we'll.
I didn't realize Hugh Freeze was Michael Orr's high school coach.
You thought that was just a joke for the blind side.
I did not know that.
It's real deal.
Shout out Hugh.
You by yourself on that one. I can't not make too many Hugh Freeze jokes. You're gonna tell me, God, gonna send you a random text, a random DM again, talking about, but God bless you, brother. People actually don't believe that. People like think I'm making this up, and I'm like, I couldn't and wouldn't, guys. I couldn't.
Is that the coach that you would have, Alex? Because that was a question that we just posed as to who you would have on the hot seat.
So for me, I would tell you this. My coach on the hot seat is Brett Venables. First year, they go 6-6, right? The next year, they go 10-2. Last year, they're back to 6-6, and they lose to Navy in like the Armed Forces Bowl or something like that. This is a situation where if you're Oklahoma and you're Lincoln Riley, y'all have gotten divorced, but no one's happy. Neither of you is better off for this. Both of you is like, we should probably get that old thing back. Both of you see each other on Facebook, and neither of you is having a very good time out here, right? Like a very, possibly Dale and Sonya Curry situation, right? But like on field, right, in a very similar way with like LSU, to where all those years in the early to mid 2010s, LSU had the gates of hell on defense, but could not figure out how to run a modern NFL offense. Like they had Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham Jr. could not really throw the ball. It's the same sort of thing with Oklahoma. They had Lincoln Riley all those years, and their offense was excellent. They moving up and down the field, but the defense was god awful. And now it's reversed. Right now, Oklahoma's defense is pretty stout, but the offense really can't get out of first gear. Right. And this is the worst worst 3-year stretch Oklahoma's had in a very long time. Like, we do not remember a mediocre Oklahoma. Oklahoma does not do that sort of thing. They do not. Right. Like, Brett Venables has put up the worst 2 performances against Texas in OU history in 3 games. Right. He has scored a grand total, I think, of 37 points. And mind you, 34 of those points came in the Red River Shootout game in 2023. His first Red River Shootout, he put up a big old goose egg, 49-0. Last year, they only scored 3 points, right? So he's been shut out once and damn near shut out again. They cannot keep falling behind. And if you look at their schedule, LSU, last year they lost to LSU by 20. I think they've got South Carolina. Last year they lost to South Carolina by 26. They lost to Mizzou. They lost to Ole Miss. They lost to Tennessee. This is a tough schedule. 8 wins won't cut it. Of course, they imported a quarterback, imported an OC from Washington State, right? They got a really good running back, Jay Knott, out of the transfer portal. Hopefully, for Brent Venables, that does the job, but 8 wins won't do it. I think what possibly would save Brent Venables would be 10. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. He was actually my choice for being on the hot seat as well. You know, I mean, for all the reasons you mentioned, he hasn't won a bowl game since he's been there. And then, I mean, you're coming into the SEC with Texas, and you parallel your success like with the success of your rival, and it's not good enough. It's not good enough. You know, I think last year when we talked about this, I said like Billy Napier, but, you know, I think they give him a little bit of a longer leash, you know, with DJ Lagway to see what he can do with him. Sam Pittman at Arkansas, right? I think he's going to be on the hot seat coming up. But OU's schedule, they got Illinois State, they have Michigan. They play Michigan and Oklahoma. It's going to be a good game. Temple, Auburn, Kent State, Texas, South Carolina, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Tennessee, Alabama, Missouri, LSU. I don't know if that schedule gets you to 10 wins, which 9 or 10 wins, which is what they would want out of their program. To your point about Brian Kelly, I would say Brian Kelly because Ed Orgeron won a championship and 2 years later he was fired. I just think they're going to be a little bit better this year. I'm not saying that they'll be championship contenders, but I think they have a really good roster, and I think they'll be able to put some things together more so than what they did last year. So I think the main person that is on the hot seat is Brett Venables.
I mean, I'll say this to Brian Kelly and LaMar, that's in your neck of the woods. I don't think folks are feeling too good about the American dream, Brian Kelly, right about now. Right? Like the whole reason Brian Kelly comes to LSU is because he thinks that he can't get the level of athletes in the school at Notre Dame to where they can compete with your SEC programs, primarily your programs in the SEC West. But here's the kicker. His successor got to a national championship. And in order to get there, he beat a team from the SEC, right? Like with the same academic restrictions, with the same struggles of in order to get guys into Notre Dame, you need dudes that are not only good enough to play against Georgia, you also need dudes that academically, right, can go take like calculus or pre-cal or organic chemistry or something in their freshman year. That's the level of guy we're talking about here. And Marcus Freeman had them same academic requirements, and he got them boys there. And my thing with Brian Kelly is Brian Kelly's a really good coach. Brian Kelly has won everywhere he's been. And you got to be a good coach to win at Notre Dame because all of the reasons we just said, right? So
correct.
You can fall, and we've seen 2 coaches that we don't think are good coaches, LaMar, Les Miles and Ed Orgeron, fall ass backwards into loaded rosters. Just because LSU is the only Power 5 game in the state of Louisiana. Like, you got your pick of them in Louisiana if you're LSU. You're a better coach than both of them dudes who have won national championships there. 8-4 ain't good enough. And here's the bad part with LSU. Brian Kelly's going to have another one of those week 1 helmet games. He's got another one. This year, they're going to Clemson. 2 weeks later, they got Florida. And then 2 weeks after that, they open up their SEC slate, like really, really get into the meat of the SEC schedule against Ole Miss. He could go into that Ole Miss game 2-2. LaMar, if they go into the Ole Miss game 2-2, are folks talking about firing the American dream?
And see, that's the thing, man. because it's like this. We all know that in Louisiana, they live and die with their Tigers. And especially we've had over the last couple of years, obviously with Ed Orgeron and also Les Miles, which were, decent coaches, charming guys, but they wanted to get them out of the paint because they were losing games that they shouldn't have lost to, and also being behind Alabama. Well, again, in this case here, you have Brian Kelly, who a guy that can always win games, and especially this is the thing here, as me, Notre Dame fan, can attest to. Brian Kelly can win you some games. He's also he's also an asshole about these things too. That is the thing. He is an asshole when it comes down to these things. And see, that's the thing again, because everything's good when you're 8-3, 9-3, 10-2. Everything's good. You win some games. It depends on the games that you lose and everything else like that. Maybe you don't want to lose to Alabama. Maybe you don't want to lose to Florida or anything else like that. But you can build yourself some rope if that's the case. But if you're 8-4 and you're losing too many of those games, and you're not really the most charming guy in the media, that does tend to put your seat a little bit hot right then and there. And of course, that LSU does have a little bit here. I mean, I'm pretty sure, I don't know what the buyout is and all that stuff. I'm pretty sure it's hefty and everything else like that. But, and them folks in Louisiana, they don't care. They'd be willing to get that man out of there if that's the case.
You brought up like the biggest thing. You can only kick it the way Brian Kelly kicks it if you win. Right? Like that is a dude you only tolerate if you are winning. If you are losing, that means you are losing and you have to deal with a certified jackass. And there's one thing you do not want to do when things are not fun is deal with a jackass. And that's legitimately what he is. And Brian Kelly's a jackass during the best of times. Right? Like he's one of them people. It's kind of like Bill Belichick, right? Like people talk about playing for the New England Patriots. Ken, I don't know if you've seen this, but dudes talk about playing for the Patriots. They'll be like, you win a lot, but it's like not like fun, right? Like that's the big thing that they'll say, that it's not like really fun, but you'll win a ton of games. But I can imagine those last couple years under Bill Belichick, where they're going 4-12 or 3-13. Right? Or Mac Jones. I could tell Mac Jones wasn't having fun. Well, that's because he had Matt Patricia and Joe Judge as his QB coach and offensive coordinator. Another reason why the Bill hire wasn't good, but let me get off of that. I'm sure no one was having a good time. I'm absolutely positive. Right? So if you're Brian Kelly, and again, it's really crazy to think about this, guys. That great hiring cycle of 2021, where Lincoln Riley goes to USC, Brent Venables replaces him at OU, Dan Lanning gets the job at Oregon because Mario Cristobal goes to Miami. And then Brian Kelly replaces Ed Orgeron and Marcus Freeman gets the Notre Dame job. Of all of them, only two of those schools are really happy. That's Notre Dame and Oregon, right? LSU folks aren't happy. USC folks aren't happy. Oklahoma folks aren't happy, right? Miami folks, I'm not sure. They might be out there spending that funny money. They might be, right? But most everybody else isn't happy. And I surely wouldn't be happy with Brian Kelly because, y'all, do y'all realize on a college offense, he had Jaden Daniels, Malik Neighbors, and Brian Thomas, and they went, 8-4? If they could just put together an average defense or a below average defense, they probably would have won a national title that year because them boys was hell on wheels. They was absolute hell. But instead, they were horrifically bad. So, all right, guys, I'm going to ask y'all this question. Who's more likely to get fired, Lincoln Riley or Brian Kelly?
Brian Kelly.
I might say Lincoln Riley. Just be interesting about this stuff because, like you said, USC ain't happy. And the thing is, when you get Lincoln Riley, you're thinking that you're going to be right back into the national championship picture like you've been because you're starving for that situation. Like the last time they were in the national championship picture, Pete Carroll was a college coach. And it has not happened since then. And so I probably would say, Lincoln Riley because, the defense has been bad and the quarterback situation that they've had there outside of Caleb Williams, it's looking fun in the light, guys.
Nah, I mean, I do think it's a toss-up because they are in similar situations. They both had a really good season. What? Because USC went 11-3 his first year.
Yeah, they went to a Cotton Bowl and lost to Tulane. Yeah.
Yeah, I won 11-3 his first year, and then just kind of went downhill. I've been watching like college football, like outlooks and predictions, and he's very confident about his team this year, Lincoln Riley. So I'll be interested to see how that turns out. But I do think Brian Kelly, kind of like you said, if he goes into week 5 at 2-2, he could very well be on the hot seat because he's got a lot of talent on that roster. Nussmeier came back. The running back from Duncanville, those receivers that he has, like, they're loaded, and he's got no excuse.
They got a couple of guys out the transfer portal. They got Nick Anderson from Oklahoma. They got Barian Brown, who was first team All SEC from Kentucky, right? Got another tight end from Oklahoma as well. Like, they've really, again, for Brian Kelly, you have to, at minimum, get a playoff spot for folks to be satisfied this year. You know, like that's kind of where he has to be. And if they're not, what do we hire you for? Because again, we have seen lesser coaches win big there. And speaking of folks not going to be happy, Kennedy Miller, how many times do you think we go get them folks calling into the Paul Feinbaum show talking about Paul, Coach DeBoer just don't have it. Nick Saban didn't lose to Vandy. Mike Shula didn't lose to Vandy. Paul, like, how seriously though? How many weeks in do you think we gonna get another one of them? This ain't Prairie View or Kentucky State, wherever the hell you was. This ain't the Magic City Classic, right? Like, can Kalen DeBoer figure it out in year 2? Or are they gonna put the for sale sign in his yard?
For his sake, I hope so. Because it doesn't seem like the most safe position to be in to go 2 straight years of being underwhelming at Alabama. And by the way, underwhelming was what? He lost 3 games?
3 regular season games.
3 regular season games.
And they lost the bowl game to Michigan. That was bad.
But yeah, that was bad. That was bad. Hopefully he can turn it around, man. I saw they just listed, what was a 5-star? They listed him as their quarterback as a starter today. But if not, man, they going to be on that SEC radio calling, killing him. What did it say? Losing Nick Saban and waking up with Kalen DeBoer is like going to bed with Beyonce and waking up with Whoopi Goldberg.
I cannot believe that man said that. Like, that is one of the wildest things I've ever heard in the history of talk radio. Like, can somebody get that? We might have to get Legend on here. We might have to find a way to get Legend, probably the biggest Alabama fan in America, on this show. Because, hey, Ken, that man's a hoot. That man is an absolute hoot. Again, don't ask him anything outside of football. This would be one of them stick to sports, because I'm pretty sure I would not like that man outside of that. I'm pretty sure. Like, LaMar, do you think DeBoer can bounce back? Or do you think this is going to be another 9-3, 8-4 year for them?
One can hope. One can hope, because, you know, he has to at least get them into a situation where everything's good again. Again, it's like you said, if that program is the games you lose by. The good thing is you didn't lose to Auburn last season. The bad thing is you lost to Vanderbilt, and that should never, ever, 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 ever happen. And so now, like you said, what can they do possibly in order to get there this season, at least here? Looking at the schedule that they have, of course, you're starting off the season against Florida State, who another guy who probably should be on our hot seats, Mike Norvell. And then, of course, man, wow, I'm also wearing the shirt right now. They're playing against ULM, and well, I think that of course they'll beat us. And then, you know, you have Wisconsin, which is another guy that's probably on the hot seat with Luke Fickell. So how do they start? that's probably going to be something interesting. Now, again, what did they do against Georgia? What did they do against Georgia? They have to travel to them. You also have LSU, of course. You also have Oklahoma. You also have Tennessee. Most of their hard games are on at home, so at least that's the good thing about it. But of course, you do have some trap games. You do have to worry about the Georgia game. You do have to worry about Auburn at Auburn there. I just hope for his case he does have brick insurance, because I do not want to see a brick thrown through his window if that's the case, which actually did happen to an Alabama coach way back when, 1988. Yes, it did happen. Look it up.
Hey, look, I know y'all had to watch the Boondocks. I know y'all saw that episode where Uncle Ruckus was throwing bricks at a cardboard cutout of Barack Obama, and he was like doing it like he was shot putting bricks.
They're going to be treating Kalen DeBoer like Herman Boone. My boys ain't playing for no Coach Cool. They'll only play for you, Coach.
Look,
DeBoer.
Coach Paul, where does he live? Does he not understand where he is? This ain't Washington or North Dakota. Right? Them folks are going to act a fool. And if you think about it, right, a place like Oklahoma and Alabama have a lot like very similar things, right? Like there's no reason why Alabama's been able to be this good for this long, other than the fact that Alabama really cares about football for some reason. Like they really care. Like I know why them folks in the state of Oklahoma care about football, because they were like, after like the Grapes of Wrath, they were saying something about like the word Okie was a slur, and they needed some sort of like pride in being from Oklahoma. So they decided it was going to be OU football, right? Like they like, this is going to be what we're good at, because they really ain't got much else. Right. With Alabama, I feel like it's a very similar type of situation, except Alabama has they're close to a whole lot of very good players, unlike Oklahoma, where Oklahoma has to like recruit nationally because Oklahoma doesn't produce a whole lot of high end guys. Right. But for Kalen DeBoer, like last year, he looked completely overwhelmed. He looked completely like a fish out of water. Like at first, here's the best way I'll put it. If you've ever dated or been in a relationship, everything is good, right? But you really know what this really is after the first big argument. First big one, I mean like a blowout argument, like a bad one, right? If everybody can come back after that and be like, all right, let's talk about it. Let's discuss it. You're going to be all right. Like you really figure out what time it is. Or if you know, we've all been there. You're like, oh, this isn't going to work. It's a matter of time. I probably need to get while the getting is good and bow out, right? Kalen DeBoer, I feel like thought everything was good. And, this was a good job. He understood what this was. And then they lost to Vanderbilt. Then it became very clear he did not understand how serious these people took this. It was very clear. And he looked, by the end of it, by the time they lost that game to Oklahoma, I'm like, hey, guys, they might string him up after they park the buses once they get back to campus, because they'll let Alabama lose a game, lose a national championship game, lose a playoff semifinal, okay, whatever. They'll still say it's a disappointing season, but they losing 3-4 in the regular season. Like I don't remember, other than Saban's first year where they lost more than the 2010 year. They lost 3 regular season games. Yes, in 2007, they lost to LaMar Gafford's, the ULM Warhawks. They did.
Oh, Jesus.
They did do that. They did. But like, as legend said, John Parker Wilson was the quarterback, brother.
Ooh, I ain't heard that name in a long time.
Hey. Look, it's been many a day. Look, hold on, Lamar, wait. Alabama plays ULM again?
Yes, they do. Week 2.
Okay, I want chaos.
Funny thing.
I'm rooting for chaos now. Kennedy Miller, I'm rooting for chaos. What do you think they would do if Kalen DeBoer, look, if it all came apart against ULM again?
He would have to have as much security as Donald Trump. And I'm not even joking.
It's always tough following legends. It's always tough. But I tell you who's making
3 guys I would like to listen to. There would be 3 guys I would like to listen to in that case. Legend, Roll Tide Willie, and Drewski.
Roll Tide Willie is hilarious. Ken, have you seen Roll Tide Willie?
Yes. Yeah, he is hilarious.
They are hilarious. I'll tell you two other teams that I find like to be particularly interesting. Florida State is another squad I think is really, really interesting. And simply for the fact of you go from undefeated, left out of the playoffs to 2-10. Right. And before last year, Mike Norvell got one of them big, ginormous $70-80 million contracts with a crazy $60-70 million buyout. Right. How does this go this year? Because I don't, at least for his sake, you'd hope they're not going to be 2-10 again. Right. But do we almost look at this year for Florida State as, all right, if they get to 7 or 8 wins, this is a successful season after coming off a 2-10? Do we almost look at it like that? Like this is I don't want to say a full rebuild, right? Because it's not like Florida State is like one of the more prolific teams in the portal, and they were one of the first teams to really get good at portal recruiting. And part of my thing with, if you're relying heavily on the portal, part of that means you're not really able to identify, recruit, and develop your high school players if you're really portal reliant like that. And I think this past year showed why that's not, like, you use the portal to supplement. Like, the portal shouldn't be your sole avenue of recruiting, because if you guess wrong, you've really struck out. And last year with DJ Uiagalelei, they guessed real wrong. And now I hope he's a real estate consultant or working for T-Mobile. Matter of fact, I'm gonna leave him alone.
He just threw a 50-yard pass for the Chargers. All these like Florida State accounts, he threw a 50-yard bomb, and they're like, where was this at last year?
We was playing Memphis,
bro. Like, that was so funny. Like, all the accounts, every like time I scrolled, it was like he throws a 50-yard pass, somebody else is like quoting it like, where was this at last year? Are you serious? Like, you for real?
Bet you had 50-11 schools asking him about the same thing. Clemson,
man,
Oregon State,
his high school coach, his high school coach,
in college,
bro. And DJ was one of those dudes where you saw him the first year and you were like, he's doing a couple of, like, they're not asking him to do a whole lot this first year, but he is big, he's strong, he really looks the part. And then the next year, he doesn't really get any better. And then the next year, he doesn't look any better than he did year one. You're like, oh, this is a problem, right? Like, you ask that dude to throw an out route and he throw it in the second row and hitting somebody like selling beer. Like, it was bad, right? It was really bad, right? And I think that was part of the thing, like, why Clemson took a huge step back these last several years post Trevor Lawrence, because if we think about it, what Clemson had some good guys. They had, a CJ Spiller, a James Davis, DeAndre Hopkins. They had some guys before that. But what really got Clemson to the top end of the sport was transcendent quarterback play, right? Trevor Lawrence, and before that, the artist formerly known as Deshaun Watson, right? But can they get there with just, let's also mention that 2018 Clemson team possibly had one of the greatest defensive lines ever, at least in college. They had dogs on that D-line, right? But this year, I think Clemson, if I'm being honest, I think Clemson wins the ACC, and I think they're a top 4 seed this year, guys. I really do.
For sure. I think Clemson's going to be really good this year. I think this is going to be their best team in probably about 5 or 6 years. Klubnik, I want to say, I don't want to mess up his name. Somebody on the defensive line is really good.
They got Peter Woods. It's Peter Woods.
Peter Woods. And then, of course, with them being in the ACC, while you were gone, me and LaMar talked about, kind of like North Carolina's schedule and how, besides Clemson, it's really like a toss-up. Well, for Clemson, they can pretty much run through it. Like, they play SMU will probably be a good game, but other than that, like, the ball is in their court, theoretically, for them to run the table. So I think they're going to be pretty good this year. I think they're going to be a playoff team, and I think they have a chance to make some noise.
LaMar?
Yeah, I believe so, too. I don't think they're going to have that much resistance in the ACC, to be honest with you, unless SMU somehow has another lucky horseshoe. But I just think that I think they'll have a good chance of possibly making it in there. That first game against LSU is going to tell us a whole lot here, obviously, because both teams do have experienced quarterbacks. Nussmeier for LSU, and of course Klubnik for Clemson. But as we said about the Texas Ohio State game, I mean, the winner of that game pretty much is feeling pretty good about themselves going the rest of the way forward here. And if Clemson can do that, then I mean, I guess the rest of the ACC doesn't really seem pretty tough right there. So they're going to be all right in that situation there. And, I know Dabo's out here praising Jesus right now at this point. So,
hey man, got to give Dabo Olstein some love. Got to give him some love. I know I give that. I'm rough on him. I really am rough on Dabo, right? But Dabo done prayed to the good Lord. He done got him some help up at quarterback, right? They figured some things out, right? I think they'll be better. I think, and it is really crazy to think about. 2020 was the last time they made the 14 playoff. Every year after that, they weren't in the mix. They were not serious contenders, right? Like Georgia took big strides forward, right? It almost, I would say, took their place as Alabama's, like, you could almost say primary rival in terms of like nationally, like for championships in that same sort of way. But I think that also kind of went with kind of what I said earlier about the fact that they hit with two transcendent quarterbacks, right? But their O-lines during those Watson years, during those Lawrence years weren't like phenomenal. You know what I mean? So, but I think they'll win the ACC unless Mario Cristobal and Carson Beck has some sort of renaissance, right? But given Mario Cristobal's clock management, given the fact that I saw Carson Beck throw the ball to the other team a whole lot, I don't have much confidence. I won't lie to you guys. I don't. But to get up out of here, y'all want to pick who we think are going to win these conferences and then our national champion?
Yeah, let's go ahead
let's
and
do it.
All right, Lamar, who are your top 4 seeds? Who are your top 4, Lamar?
I'm going to go with Texas. I'm going to go with Ohio State. I think Clemson has a very good chance in possibly doing it here. And I'm going to be a little bit biased here. I'm going with the guy with the crispiest of fades here. My boy Marcus Freeman, Notre Dame. I think they'll get a chance to do it this year.
As long as Marcus does not show up looking like he dipped his head in a car oil pan again. As long as Marcus doesn't do that and embarrass all of us, right? Marcus, hey, really? Go ahead, Ken.
No, I think I'm gonna go with Marcus Freeman as well. Notre Dame, Texas, Clemson, and I'm gonna go with Oregon instead of Ohio State. I think Ohio State might have a little bit of a down year. I don't think they'll be bad, but I don't think they're gonna win or be a top 4 seed for the playoff.
And the good thing about it is you don't inherently have to be anymore. Like,
Correct.
We knew Ohio State was one of the 3 best teams in America, 3 or 4 best teams in America going into the playoff, right? Like we all knew that. Even I think they were like a 6 seed last year, I think, something like that. I can't remember, right? But we all knew 8. They were 8, but we all knew what it was. We knew how good Ohio State was, right? So my top 4, I'm going to go with Texas, Clemson, Georgia, and then I'm gonna go Ohio State. They lost a lot. They lost a lot of those guys from last year, lost both coordinators, but Ryan Day has gotten this thing going in a way to where it's pop them in, pop them out. They still got Jeremiah Smith. They still got Caleb Downs. They still recruit top 3, top 4 recruiting classes year in, year out. And year in, year out, no matter what guys they lose, they keep rolling them off the lot, right? At receiver, at quarterback, right? They keep rolling them in, rolling them out. They'll be really good. Now, does that mean they'll beat Michigan? I don't know. Right? Like Ryan, they're going to have to figure something out on that front, right? Like, maybe let's not try to like play bully ball against Michigan. No, just throw the ball over their heads. It's okay. It's okay.
Right.
Play your game, buddy. You don't have to prove you're tough, right? And then got them boys flexing on you on your home field talking about y'all need to learn how to lose. Yeah, you can't have that, brother. You can't have that. You can't have that. So those are my top 4 seeds. And who do you guys have winning the title?
Texas.
LaMar?
Go ahead, Texas, man. I just think they're the best team.
My mind's telling me yes. Why you got that look on your face?
I just had a flashback to the jersey. I'm sorry. I was really trying to hold it in. I really was.
You said I had a flash. See, for folks who didn't watch the episode, y'all just got to go onto our YouTube channel, look up our Game 6 reaction of these previous NBA finals and see what Mr. Miller is talking about.
That's a
All right?
that's a crazy title to get to how, like, where we got to in that show. The Game 6 NBA Finals reaction to a jersey. I'm not going to spill the beans because, listeners, you got to go find it yourself.
Yes.
But
one of our all-time funniest episodes.
Dog.
I mean, that one's up there. That one is a Clay Game 6 in Oklahoma City. That one's a good one.
Hey, the other one that was a real look between that one and the one when Hugh Freeze, right after the one where Hugh Freeze sent me a DM. That one and the one where Ken, you remember this one really, really specifically. The one where Deion Waiters took one gummy too many and they had to land the plane.
All those were hilarious.
Back to the lecture at hand. My mind tells me Texas is going to be able to get this done, right? But here, I don't want to get my hopes up, right? But I do have a really good feeling, right? 20 years after Vince Young won the Rose Bowl, right? And beat USC in one of the, possibly, I'll say it right here, the greatest college football game I ever witnessed with my own 2 eyes. I think this year, Arch takes us to the promised land. You heard it here first. And Ken, if Texas wins that game, wins the national championship, we're coming on the live stream after, and I'm going to wear the jersey. I'm going to wear the jersey.
I'm not. Wait. I thought you were saying a Texas jersey.
No.
It's about time we sign off.
I can't say it's time to go.
Good night, everybody.
It's time to go.
As we proceed to get up out of here and keep our jobs. And that is another episode of the Game Plan Podcast. Kennedy Miller, my guy.
Yes, sir.
Where can they find you on Twitter, my brother?
Find me on Twitter, _Kennedy Miller _. Again, that's _Kennedy Miller _.
All right. LaMar Gafford, let the folks know where they can find all of your work. Let them know where they can find some of your freelance work as well. You were talking a bit about some of it before the show kicked off, about some of it being on Sport News. Do I have that right?
Right. So once again, you can find me on Twitter at LaMar Gafford. You can also find me on Instagram, Primetime2832. You can find my Central Louisiana talkings on SinlaPreps.com. And we got the sporting news. I'm doing some freelance for them, and we're going to be talking about the Louisiana high schools landscape there. So we've got some things coming out about the top quarterbacks in the state and also the top running backs in the state. It's going to be a very good read. Be out there be on the lookout for it. Once again, this is going to be on the Sporting News' Louisiana portion of the website. And of course, since it's a college football show, you have to also look at the state that produces some of the most players per capita.
All right. You guys can follow me on Twitter at Alex Goodwin TSM. Again, that's on the artist formerly known as Twitter at Alex Goodwin TSM. That's T as in Texas, S as in Southern, M as in Mississippi. Follow the show on Instagram at _the Game Plan Podcast. Again, follow the show on our official Instagram page at _the Game Plan Podcast. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Game Plan Podcast YouTube channel, or if you're watching on our official YouTube channel, again, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, tell 10 friends, to tell 10 more friends, to tell 10 more friends about the Game Plan Podcast. Wherever you're listening, however you're listening, we appreciate you guys for listening. For LaMar Gafford and Kennedy Miller, my name is Alex Goodwin. This has been the Game Plan Podcast. We will see you guys next time. Take it easy.